This could save your life, or the life of someone you love, because every single day, more than 1,800 Americans suffer a stroke. And for many seniors, it doesn't begin with a collapse, or slurred words, or a dramatic emergency. It begins quietly, with little signs, subtle changes, tiny clues most people ignore. In this episode, we're going to uncover the 5 hidden signs you're headed for a stroke, and why most seniors miss them completely. Some of these may shock you, some may even sound familiar, but knowing them could be the difference between catching the warning or facing a life-changing event. So stay with us, especially for the final sign. It's the most overlooked, and it's the one that nearly cost one of my patients his life. 1. Sudden fatigue, when rest isn't enough. Most of us expect to slow down a little with age. We get tired after a walk or a long day, and we chalk it up to getting older. But there's a big difference between normal tiredness and sudden, unexplained fatigue. The kind that doesn't go away with rest, or that comes on strong without reason. This kind of fatigue is more than physical. It can feel like a fog settling over your brain, a heaviness in your limbs, a wave of exhaustion that hits you even after a full night's sleep. Here's what most people don't realize. Your brain uses about 20% of your body's oxygen supply. It's one of the hungriest organs in your system. So if your blood isn't delivering oxygen efficiently, because of narrowing arteries, a sluggish heart, or thickened blood, your brain knows it first. That shows up as feeling unusually tired in the morning, even after 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Needing to lie down or nap after simple activities, like showering or dressing. Struggling to stay awake or alert during conversations. Losing motivation for things you normally enjoy. This isn't just aging. It's your brain operating on low power mode, a signal that something might be interfering with your blood flow, particularly in the small vessels that feed deep brain structures. There's a name for this in medical literature: vascular fatigue. And in seniors, especially those over 60, it's a red flag. One study in stroke. Journal of the American Heart Association found that fatigue and mental fog were present in over 40% of patients who later experienced a full stroke, often as the only early symptom. One of my own patients, 69 years old, came in saying she was just tired lately. She hadn't changed her routine, wasn't depressed, was eating well. But something was off. She'd fallen asleep twice during the day, once while reading, and once while watching her grandkids. We ran a few tests, and it turned out she had early carotid artery narrowing, reducing blood flow to the brain by nearly 50%. No pain, no dizziness, just fatigue. She caught it in time. We made lifestyle changes, started treatment, and she's thriving today. That's the power of awareness. So if your body is asking for rest all the time, if your energy suddenly drops for no clear reason, listen, don't write it off. Because what feels like tiredness may be your brain asking for help before something far more serious occurs. 2. Vision changes. Not your glasses, your brain. Most people assume that vision problems are either an eye issue or a normal part of getting older. Blurry letters? Must be your prescription. One eye not focusing? Maybe dry eyes. But sometimes, vision changes aren't about your eyes at all. They're about your brain. You see, the optic nerve, the part of your body that allows you to see, is actually brain tissue. And the occipital lobe, which processes visual information, sits in the back of your brain. If blood flow to that area is even briefly reduced, your vision will be the first to show it. This shows up as temporary blurry patches or fog in part of your visual field. Double vision that comes and goes. A sensation of your eyes not working together or flickering. Partial vision loss in one eye, especially if it's sudden or painless. Difficulty tracking movement, reading, or depth perception. One of the most overlooked signs is amaurosis fugax, a fancy term for a short blackout in one eye. It can last a few seconds. It's painless, and many people brush it off as tiredness, eye strain, or just weird. But in medical terms, it's a mini stroke of the eye. I once treated a 73-year-old man who came in saying he'd had a strange episode. He looked up from his coffee and couldn't see anything out of his right eye for about 20 seconds. He thought it might be a problem with his retina or cataract. But when we did the tests, we discovered he had a 90% blockage in his carotid artery, the main blood vessel feeding the brain. That one visual blip was the body's warning, and if he'd ignored it, he might have suffered a massive stroke within days. Research published in the journal Neurology found that people who experienced sudden visual disturbances, even just once, were at a 2 to 3 times higher risk of having a stroke within the next 90 days. That's why time matters. Difficulty using tools, typing, or writing legibly. Feeling like your dominant hand is suddenly off or sluggish. Coordination issues on one side of the body more than the other. What makes this tricky is that there's usually no pain, just a sense that something's not quite right. That's why it's so easy to overlook. But small coordination problems can be one of the earliest signs of a TIA, a mini-stroke, and often occur days or even weeks before a major event. I remember one patient, a 76-year-old widow who lived alone and liked doing crosswords and crafts. She came in for something unrelated, a blood pressure check, but casually mentioned that she'd been a little clumsy lately. She had dropped her favorite mug. Her embroidery had become harder to manage. I asked her to perform a few simple motor tests, touch her finger to her nose with her eyes closed, tap her thumb to each finger in sequence, trace a line on a piece of paper. The results were slightly delayed on her right side. A scan revealed a small area of ischemia, meaning reduced blood flow, in her left motor cortex. She hadn't even realized how serious it could have been. And that's the point. Clumsiness isn't just an annoyance. It can be a silent signal that your brain is struggling to communicate with your body. According to a study in the Lancet Neurology, motor disruptions, especially those affecting fine motor control, are present in nearly 1 in 3 stroke cases during the 7 to 14-day window before a major episode. But because they're not painful or dramatic, they're often ignored. So here's what to do if you suddenly feel off when doing something routine. If one hand feels weaker, slower, or less coordinated, if you're dropping or fumbling objects more than usual, write it down, track the pattern, and talk to your doctor right away. You don't need to be paralyzed for something to be wrong. Your brain whispers before it screams. And this is one of those whispers. 5. Mood or personality changes when you don't feel like you. This is the warning sign that slips past most people. And sadly, it's one of the most powerful. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's quiet. And often it doesn't look like a medical issue at all. We expect strokes to affect the body. But what most people don't realize is that the brain's emotional centers are just as vulnerable as the ones controlling speech or movement. When blood flow to those areas is disrupted, even slightly, your mood, memory, and personality can begin to shift, long before a physical stroke ever happens. You might notice feeling more irritable or impatient, snapping at small things, becoming withdrawn or unmotivated, even from activities you enjoy, experiencing sudden anxiety or depression without a clear reason, difficulty making decisions or concentrating, friends or family saying, "You just don't seem like yourself lately." These shifts are often subtle, gradual, and easy to brush off as just stress or getting older. But when they happen suddenly or feel out of character, pay attention. Why does this happen? Because areas like the frontal lobe, amygdala, and hippocampus control emotional regulation, memory processing, and personality traits. Even a small, temporary drop in oxygen to these regions, say, from a TIA or early vascular damage, can disrupt how you respond to the world around you. I had a patient in his early 70s who came in not for physical symptoms, but because his daughter was concerned. "He's not himself," she told me. He'd gone from outgoing and funny to quiet and distant. He wasn't interested in watching sports anymore, forgot their weekly breakfast date, and had become easily frustrated. At first, they thought it was depression, or maybe early dementia, but a brain scan told a different story. He'd had multiple microinfarcts, tiny strokes, in his frontal lobe over the past 6 months. These small, silent events had slowly changed the way he processed emotion and attention. Thankfully, we caught it before a major stroke occurred, and he's not alone. A 2022 study in stroke found that nearly 20% of seniors who had strokes reported noticeable mood or behavior changes in the 30 days before the event, but very few recognized it as a medical warning. Here's the real danger. Because these signs don't feel physical, they get overlooked or misdiagnosed. A senior gets put on antidepressants, or told it's just grief, stress, or aging. Meanwhile, their brain is quietly struggling. So if your emotions feel unfamiliar, if you don't feel like you anymore, don't wait. Especially if you've lost interest in things that used to bring joy, you're struggling to concentrate or stay motivated. Your loved ones notice changes before you do. Your brain may be waving a flag, even if your body feels fine. This is where real prevention starts. Not with a fancy machine, but with a moment of self-awareness and the courage to ask, could this be something deeper? Protect yourself, protect others. If you're over 60 or love someone who is, please share this video. Because stroke prevention starts with awareness, not medicine, not machines. Awareness. If this helped you, like the video so others can find it. Subscribe to this channel for more life-saving health tips every week. And in the comments, let us know. What morning habits or warning signs have you noticed? Your story could help someone else wake up before it's too late. Remember, your brain is not asking for perfection. It's asking for attention. So start listening while it can still whisper.